Which is something highlighted on many occasions by our fellow ballbuster, PhD, John D. So he is a qualified spectroscoper, and that's his field. He does spectroscopy, if you do spectroscopy, but in a controlled manner. Terrestrial spectroscopy, if you want to call it that, is, in a contained environment where you don't have anything between you and the thing you're studying. It's in a sealed chamber and a very controlled situation. Whereas when you're doing stellar spectroscopy, you're not. You're dealing with vast amounts of stuff between you and the thing you presume you're measuring. So there's a lot of assumption that goes into it, and one has piggybacked off the back of a lot of valid research in actual spectroscopy, which is a shame. As I say, one of our fellow ballbusters is in that field. That is his field, in fact. So there you go. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the screen, John.
Yeah.
So as I discussed at the top of the show, Sly Sparkane has got various different proofsies of a globe that require flat Earth elevation angle measurements to be taken. And he's using one of them as sticks and shadows and various measurements to bodies in the sky. I just wanted you to go through the one that doesn't require the horizon, so with your well at Cyan and your 500 miles distance, etc., etc. Can you go through that with us? I want this to be a focal point just for the next few minutes, if that's okay with you.
Well, yeah, Eratosthenes just measured an angle using I think it's claimed to be a stick, an obelisk, but he measured an angle from the tip of the shadow to the top of the stick using a flat baseline for 500 miles to the GP of the sun at the time. That required a flat Earth.
Very simple, very eloquent, and very much part of their claims to date. It's going to be a fun ride, pointing this out to them all. Like I say, I started with Sly. I just went through and time-stamped all of the points that he'd had to measure an angle and proved the flat Earth when he did so. Fun times. Well, when you get to centre of Earth, it's the segue into saying, well, no, how are you going to move centre of Earth mode if you can't measure the angle off the surface in the first place? So the greatest embarrassment, in terms of an argument, is the globe itself, because the globe's based on flat Earth. Hey, Tom and Jerry, let's move on.
Here's the problem. You could talk to a baller, anti-flat earther, whoever, even the so-called science teachers in school. I don't feel like I'm spinning. Do you? No, I don't either, but we are. Well, if you don't know you're spinning, but you believe you're spinning, and I know I'm not spinning, so I don't believe I'm spinning. Those are two beliefs based on what? Logic and common sense and your senses, right? So even they have to admit, we don't feel the spin that they want to attribute to this ball.
No, but they
think
claim
about the nonsense of that.
Well, they claim Coriolis drift, don't they? So they claim that, in an example, again, given in Sly Sparkane, he's utilising Bob Nodell's claimed to be proofsy of a spinning ball Earth in the form of a gyroscope. Well, that's a Coriolis claim. 2 reference frames, Earth turning underneath. Well, that means Earth turns underneath. That is what Coriolis is. You on a turning reference frame, like a roundabout, ball gets thrown over the top of the roundabout. When you're turning underneath it, you look at the ball and it looks like it curves. It doesn't. It's you turning underneath. So the effect of Coriolis is only induced if you turn underneath. Does Earth turn underneath helicopters? No, it does not. Does Earth turn underneath drones? No, it does not. Does Earth turn underneath aeroplanes or hot air balloons or you if you jump up and down? No, it does not. So what's the response we get from anti-flat earthers? We get told we wouldn't expect to see drift. And you go, what? The claim that we have Coriolis is a claim that Earth turns underneath stuff that's not attached. Neil deGrasse Tyson describes it as a football seeming to drift as you look at it from the stands because Earth turns underneath, so it curves through the goal. Well, if that's true, then Earth turns underneath the blimp film in the game and the hot air balloon and the aeroplane and you if you jump up and down. But that does not happen. Then we get idiots like Simon Dan telling me, with examples of things not drifting, that my reference frames are ruined, because we detail how there is no Coriolis effect to observe on a turning Earth because we don't have a turning Earth turning beneath stuff to give us that effect. So when we show it not happening, they'll tell us how we shouldn't expect to see it happening, even though that's the primary globe claim. The primary globe claim, to reiterate, Earth turns underneath stuff not attached, like footballs, bullets, when you fire them at targets at long distances, right? What's supposed to happen? According to the globe Earth claim, the bullet will take a curved path because Earth will turn under the bullet. which means if it's turning under bullets, it's turning under planes, and it would shorten their flight times. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Los Angeles would only take about an hour and a half, rather than about 4.5, 5 hours. Well, does that happen? No. Why? Because Earth isn't turning under the plane for you to look up at it and say, oh, look, it's curving, because I'm turning beneath it. Like a ball curves if you turn beneath it and it's thrown over the top of the roundabout. That doesn't happen. We don't have Coriolis effect. There is no drift. Earth isn't turning underneath anything. In my example with the ball tossed over the top of a roundabout that's spinning, the ball isn't curving. The ball travels straight. It just looks like it curves.
But in the mathematical description, you would need a radius value for that.
Oh, right. Sorry, my being slow and passionate again has caught me out because you're going to need an R value for that. Where do they derive their R value from, John?
I think Brian would like to get this one.
Go ahead, Brian.
Flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris gives them a joule radii.
Or a measurement to a physical geometric spheroid horizon formerly known as curved Earth. Earth curve. That'd be your horizon that we debunked back in 2020, lads. What's that? Refraction? No straight lines ever? Well, you're never going to be getting elevation angle measurements to Polaris, and you haven't got a straight line to a geometric tangent point to claim you've got it blocking things. So game over, globe. Any evidence of the R value, as we're here? Earth radius. Anybody at all? Excellent stuff. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
As for what it is, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. What is gravity? What is it?
There isn't anything to observe, so there is no phenomena of gravity. What is it? Well, nothing. There isn't anything. It only exists in maths. It's just a description of something that doesn't exist.
I was going to say its description is invalid as well because it invokes R value that doesn't exist.
Indeed.
It's like abracadabra, right? It only works when they need it to work. Like a magic trick, right? Oh, I dropped my pen. Gravity. Okay. When something is not doing that, as in, I don't know, I let go of a helium balloon, what is that? Oh, that's not gravity, that's something else. Here we have all types of excuses for why that's not happening.
Yeah, buoyancy.
But I thought this gravity.
Yeah, buoyancy.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They say buoyancy. And buoyancy is the gases around the helium balloon forcing the helium balloon up because the gases around it are going down. When in reality, gases are created at ground level and make their way up as they expand in all directions to fill the availability of volume that they have. It's called entropy. Gases don't fall down, go boom, boom from the sky where they are not created.
The longest time, it was supposed to be mass attracting mass. Has that changed?
107 years ago, it was mass attracting mass. It's still taught to school children to this day, in spite of the fact that the teachers who teach it have to be qualified to the point where they understand implicitly that it's not mass attracting mass. It's the bending of space-time as a result, a claimed result, of the uneven distribution of mass in pseudo-Riemannian four-space Einstein gravity, and that the taught gravity that they're going to go and disseminate to the children is definitely not what gravity is. Big issue, if you ask me. Really, we shouldn't be teaching children stuff that's 107 years out of date and proven incorrect.
Well, it wasn't replaced by anything better, but my point is, what's scientific about it? What have we actually observed? Has anyone observed something bigger attracting something smaller? Is it a natural phenomenon?
No, there wasn't 107 years ago. That's why it was superseded by Einstein's bending of space-time. But there is no phenomena in bending space-time either. Time isn't something that you can bend or dilate. It is not something that is physical. It's not a phenomena. It's not something that can be scientifically validated. It is merely a description in maths of a phenomena that is never observed. There is no gravity, and the assertion that gravity is the downward vector, or bias, at 9.8 meters per second, is to defy the fact that there's things that go up that don't do that, and to try and get around it by saying, well, gases go down, go boom, boom, and that's forcing the other gases to go up. No, they don't. Gases expand in all directions, all vectors. There is no down bias.
Have they attributed a causal cause for time? I mean, is time their causal cause?
Time is an abstract description in and of itself. So, no.
No, I know it's not because it's a convention. You can't show me time in the box. But the point is, have they attributed a causal effect to time? Like time causes something.
Time doesn't cause anything. That's nonsensical.
I know that. No, I know, but that's what they said. When you go there, that's what you have to believe.
Okay, well, you might have to believe that time is the cause of all things if you're a fundamentalist religious zealot who believes he's on a sphere that's been derived from a flat plane, but we're not in that problematic position, are we?
Well, like a famous host says, we got there at the end. Thank you.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
That field that is just observing and it stops there because they can't manipulate anything. So how can it be scientific?
They don't have any science. They just claim science when actually they've got just so stories and pseudoscience to offer. It's a magic trick.
I think their phenomenon, though, they're always going to use a heliocentric model to try to describe that, the description of that phenomenon within. I don't know if they'll ever get past that step.
Would that be the celestial sphere, John?
Yep.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
But this is absolutely crazy for anyone to believe you can have any gas pressure of any type without a container. Everybody who buys hairspray, any kind of propane refilling must be done in a tank to create pressure. This is, they die right here when they say the Earth's air is right next to a vacuum and magically it stays confined to a sphere.
But while this magical ball is moving through the galaxy, following the sun at 500,000 miles per hour, going around it at 66,600 miles per hour, while spinning at 17,000 or 1,000 miles per hour at the equator.
You know, it moves in lockstep because it's like the gas is like magnets, you know, one layer to another. They just, even if it's pulled super fast through the galaxy, like the gas is just going to stick to each other like magnets to the Earth.
That's interesting. When my kids were young, I'd go around the turn and make a sharp turn and I'd look in the rearview mirror and they'd all be going to one side and they'd say, do it again, do it again. But the Earth doesn't go through that, chocolate.
No, just make the car big enough and then go fast enough and you won't feel it moving at all. That's their logic. It's ridiculous, man.
Thank you very much. We're only 50 minutes into the live show and we've done all of the housekeeping questions really concisely and detailed. I'm very happy.
But the thing is with gases, they're free to move like water's free to move. When you got the augment, periapsis, and periapsis, when they do the elliptical orbit, it spins. And also the wobble effect. The Earth has a wobble. What's holding all this? Everything's, it's free to move. Water is free to move.
A presupposed wobble.
I will let him.
Yes, presupposition, yes.
That would be without a celestial sphere horizontal plane model and without tangent planes. That's what he's claiming?
Pretty much, yeah.
I think what Owen's highlighting is the fact that the order it comes out of his mouth is to say, I can do it without the standard, normal, using a flat plane way that celestial navigation typically utilises. I can do it in a different way. It's very akin to the standard at the moment where they want to juxtapose this is how we say we can do it. It's like, yeah, but that's just your anti-flat Earth claim of how you say you could do it. But how it is done is very well documented in celestial navigation. So when he phrases it, I don't have to use a flat plane, I can do it in an alternative way. It's like, yeah, but the standard's using a flat plane, isn't it? That's why he's phrased it that way. I assume that's what Arwin's driving at in terms of his phraseology, right, Arwin?
Well, yeah, we didn't really get to any actual explanation, surprise, surprise, just quickly moving on when I was trying to make him explain how that would work. But I'm just really curious, since he did say it.
The main focus is, if I'm paraphrasing on behalf of Woooohoooo virus, he being analogous and representative to all anti-flat earthers, aka ballers, people who want to defend against the flat earth claim that you require a flat plane to do celestial navigation. Woooohoooo virus, don't have to use the flat plane that celestial navigation always uses. That's how it works. So yeah, they have a claim now in terms of how they say it could work if we take what they say is done at face value. And occasionally they might find on page 57 of a 57-page document on celestial navigation a version that disclaims how you could transpose all of this onto a sphere, but nobody ever does it and it's far too complicated and not required. And they might take that as their citation. And then when you go to the first page in the introduction and you show them a triangle, suddenly they crap their pants.
The bubble sextant creates a flat plane at the eye line, horizontal, straight all the way to the GP. And that's why you're able to take the elevation angle and minus it from 90. So that would be a right angle triangle from the eye line all the way to the GP of the sun or star. It could be thousands of miles. That's pretty flat if you believe you live on the curved
exactly.
surface.
I mean, he's basically paralleling and describing how you do it on a flat plane, and he's describing it that way also. Hence his need to say, I don't have to do it in the way it's done on Celestial Navigation's books. I can do it this other way. That's just our frivolous nobody claim from people like Rufy or Protothad or Virus. You could do it that way, could you? No, you'd need to first measure elevation angles, and you can't do those off a curved surface. So no matter what you say, as Toon found out 78 times we're up to now, by the way, if anyone's keeping count, you can't first measure an angle if the surface is curved. No, you need a flat baseline. Game over.
Well, the first Bubbles sextant, Gago Coutinho, put 2 spirit levels, one vertical, one horizontal, so he can get a true right angle out of it.
Shh, don't mention 90.
I can't help it, Mitchell, because, see, no matter what they say, they have to subtract the elevation angle from 90, and the minute they say from 90, it's over for them, because 90 is a perpendicular, 2 straight lines.
Right. So, yeah, there is an argument to be made that the ball Earth is effectively a distraction, hiding things from us about our past, how things really developed, sure. But a much more direct, more pragmatic thing, why they want to hold on to it, in my opinion, is because it gives them the ultimate reified storytelling medium. They got all this space they can talk about. Nobody can go there. So they have to just trust it. And then, yeah, people become dependent upon the storytelling tradition that heliocentrism really provides. All this space that things can be said about it, and people can't personally test it. So they become dependent on the storytellers. I think that's the main trick that forces them to keep it in place, because they need that virtual space to keep control over the people now, right?
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I would say to John, the latest that was asking the questions there, that you're making the same mistake that you're giving out of it. You're giving a reason for something that you don't know the reason for. It's like, who cares why they did it? All we know is that they did it. We just point out the lie, we point out where it's incorrect, we point out where there was dishonesty used or whatever. That's all we have to do. You don't have to give them a reason, because you don't know. I don't know why they did it. All I know is that it happened, that we were told we're on a globe, and we've shown that we're not. And that's all that matters. Because if you go down...
I agree. We shouldn't try to make up a reason. But they always do, though. And they give them a dumb reason that makes them think, oh, you're trying to make me a Bible believer. Which isn't the... I'm not saying that that's why they...
You alluded to a false dichotomy, and that is the false dichotomy. So the need for you to divine their motivation so that can be challenged when that isn't necessary. Now, don't get me wrong, John, if we were on a personal call together, and I do this with people on the panel often, speculate, it just leaves you vulnerable. That's why you're getting, not pulled down for it, but by the same token, we're just trying to highlight, my God, we're just trying to highlight how it leaves you vulnerable. That's all.
So okay, your feelings and your beliefs and your knowledge and what you know, everything you know, like, that's all fine. But when you try to put it into an argument for everyone else to digest, you have to be careful of how you put forth the argument. So the only thing I focused on you saying, so that I can actually address what I believe is the issue, is that you detailed, or you said there was a false dichotomy and didn't detail the false dichotomy. So your premise, as far as how you're arguing for it, is fallacious right here. You haven't actually characterized the false dichotomy. All you've done is actually do the fallacy yourself, because actually what you're trying to describe is the ontological primitives being either nature was created or it created itself. That's an actual dichotomy. So this is what people are trying to argue, but it's not a false dichotomy. It's an actual dichotomy. So your premise is false, and this is why anything after that is being picked apart. It's because your argumentation is fallacious.
That was the point I wanted to make.
Hold on, Adam. Hold on. Just let John respond, and then Adam next. Go ahead, John.
What I'm trying to say is what the other guy was saying. More like, let's not try to speculate. But people always do. They always say, "Oh, it's because they're trying to hide God." So what that does to a normie, it automatically makes them feel like they're being put in a corner where you're going to have to believe in the Bible if you keep listening to me. And that's not what they want to hear. And of course, some people think that's okay. But if we want to turn on as many people as possible to the truth of flat Earth, we don't want to push away any groups. And if you're like in a group already that feels a certain way about the Bible, like, why push them away? Just tell them that the ancient past is not what we've been told. And
fair enough.
By keeping
I get you. Okay, hold on, everyone, hold on. Yes, okay, I understand your point, and I see.
Or maybe not say nothing. Maybe not say nothing at all. But not always try to push them in the direction of the Bible.
No, I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate your sentiment. And when it's discussed here on specific Ballbusters shows, we do take people who are listening through the detail of the ontological primitives for our justification, for the reasoning behind explaining that. Now, when it's just somebody who comes along and says, they're hiding God, you're saying the implications are, you need to pay attention to me, I'm a Bible basher, and that might not look good. And potentially, for the most part, I agree with you. It needs far more contextualization that doesn't necessarily come from whoever purveys that, and it's that annoys you. Yeah, I get it. Go ahead, Adam.
Cool. I'm hearing two things. The first is, like you say, you can't speak to motivation. If I'm recognising the point, you don't want to go fundy. This isn't a Christian thing, first and foremost. I'd use the term creator. We don't have to insist on any one particular religion, doctrine, whatever. And I'd make that distinction. But I suppose if you are just trying to break the ice, then ancient technology, things like that, which ultimately do lead to hiding a creator. If you look at the glorious past we had, we're told, it's the ascent of man. It's quite obviously the reverse. So other than speaking to motivation, I don't think what you're saying is a bad thing and a good way of actually approaching newbies, particularly unreligious ones, atheists.
Right. So yeah, calling it a spiritual path might just have just the same amount of effect, right, on another group, right? If you're gonna not deny Christian ways of explaining it, then there may be a whole bunch of Christians out there which are not necessarily annoying type of Christians that are going to object to that. So the vernacular that you're going to use to explain what is roughly happening is always going to be have a polarizing effect on different groups out there. You can't prevent that.
You could be talking to a Muslim for a start, so then that scripture in of itself is irrelevant. You can't master all scriptures. So, say a much better way of doing it is to stay out of the field of discussing the particular religion, but just to refer to it as a creator. I think that's sufficient until you're getting into deep stuff. But I don't think you have to either be defensive or refuse to use the Bible. But you sound like you're struggling to do it because it makes you sound like a fundy Christian. Well, that needs contextualizing for the person that's listening. So educating the listener is part of the skill, isn't it? Hence what was demonstrated so well by that previous caller, how you handle the person.
Just let him respond. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the Bible. It's not me. It's the normies that have been programmed to have a problem with it. And also, there is a problem with even just also, to say the earth is flat, so that means there has to be a creator is a false statement because we don't know what created this place. And it doesn't have to be a creator like the one stated in any holy book. It could be something else completely different. Like, a lot of these buildings, a lot of these mountains were built. They used to be mountains. They used to be buildings. So what I'm saying is maybe we're the creator. The creator is in us or whatever. But to try to pigeonhole people and tell them there is a creator, now you're going to believe in the Bible because the earth is flat. That's ridiculous.
Hold on, everyone. Just one sec. Hello. 5 people all at once. Hello. Just one sec. Just want to respond to one of the comments you just made. So you said it's a false statement. when you could say, because Earth's flat, there's a creator. It's not a false statement. It's a non sequitur statement, because the two aren't necessarily tied unless you take 2 or 3 steps to show how they're tied, which is why lots have said that you need to give a bit more meat to that bone if you make it as a statement. And if you just make it as that statement, which many do, it becomes frustrating and off-putting to a potential newbie, I think is your point. Adam, I heard first. Go ahead, Adam.
Within that response there, you're making apologetics for referring to the word creator, which is demonstrable. But you're also making some very outlandish claims in terms of mountains being buildings. I assume this is mud flood stuff. They're not proven. They're great conjecture. Okay, but for me, and I know a fair bit about it, we're all good friends with Martin Leake here, you know, so that would be a topic I would be avoiding to bring up as any kind of evidence. Yeah, grand buildings not being able to be produced by peasants, they're things that are worthy of focus on and demonstrable. Yeah, they don't fit within the timeline, but to claim that this used to be and this used to be, and I've seen the pictures, that to me is putting you in a weak position.
I've been studying When the Buildings Cried for the last 5 years, When the Buildings Cried, the YouTube channel, so I'm pretty sure about what I'm saying about the mountains being, they used to be buildings.
I think Adam's trying to point out that it's non sequitur, in the same way that without any justifiable link between the two subject matters, God and flat Earth is non sequitur, unless you go to some effort to actually link the two.
Right. It's just kind of like, I don't want to off-put people and throw them off by making it feel like it's a religion thing. It's more just like a truth, you know, and you can deal with it however you feel like it. If you feel that a creator created it, cool. If you want to take your time and come to that conclusion, cool. But, you know, it's kind of like we got to take it slow, because a lot of these people, all they know, they don't have any spiritual concepts in their head at all. So when you throw that out, they've been programmed to have a repulsion, like an aversion to it. And that's what keeps them away from flat Earth.
I think we all got that.
I would say the dangerous part is trying to inject the reasoning into somebody else. They have to come to that conclusion themselves. And even if they don't come to the conclusion of that question, which is why would they lie, right? Well, that's the problem, right? Because not one of us can say exactly why they would lie. This is why me and Eli have a song with a bunch of other flat earthers that's called Why Would They Lie?
It's a great song, by the way.
This is what I wanted to object on. This is what I wanted to object on.
Go ahead, man.
This is right. You're putting in a false dichotomy. You're right. It is a false dichotomy. It is not truth or lies. That is a false dichotomy. The true dichotomy is true or false. You don't answer papers, true or lies. So you're automatically ascribing intent when you say it's a lie, and that's a false dichotomy.
Exactly. And that's the reason the song was named Why Would They Lie? Because that's a question we get a lot of times, even on 24/7, from normies who are just coming into this, and they start wilding out, just, you know, spazzing out saying, well, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Well, we could sit here for 1,000 years trying to come up with every single reason why they would. Well, what John said is true. We don't have to concentrate on the why. We have to concentrate on the what. Let's figure out if they're lying first, and then we can proceed from there. Not
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a lie. You can be wrong without lying.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it's very simple. When that question comes up, because this is what we're having this topic about, why would they lie? Just be honest. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. If you start making stuff up and moving along with speculation and conjecture, you're no different than an astrophysicist who, when he's asked a question or she's asked a question, comes up with some nonsense theory that they have no support for.
True.
Do you know what I mean? Just say, I don't know. That's the honest answer. And people can take it or leave it. But if they know they're going to get honesty out of you, then even if they don't like it that day, they will come back. Because they'll go, that person did not mess me around, did not give me dreams or fantasies. They just was honest. They don't know, and they were just honest about it.
Okay, just before we go to Eli. Hold on, Owen. You're next after Eli. Before we go to Eli, though, I want to stress what John said. The other John, not the one on Discord. Our John. In terms of it being a false dichotomy, it's stacking up true, i.e. this is correct, versus false. Not true, versus lie. So it's not, we show it to be incorrect, hold on while you haven't balanced the equation because you've got to divine their motivation now. No. What they claim is, here's an angle measurement and I bend the angle I've measured into a sphere. That's the facts of the matter. Not, well, as a response we need to deal with, but why would they take an angle measurement off a flat plane and turn it into a spherical surface? I don't know why, and it doesn't matter. I can just show how they've done it, and the why isn't relevant. Just true versus false, not true versus lie.
Thank you. That's the problem with this entire conversation.
So yeah, I wanted to address that. We can't know why they lied. Well, on an individual basis, that's incredibly difficult. Like, people involved in this belief have their own reasons, their own perspective on things, their own range of what they know and what they don't know, what they don't want to know. But universally, you can derive patterns as to why would somebody lie. There's reasons why people lie, pragmatic reasons, short-term pragmatism, right? But yeah, why do you lie? Because control. If you're the one in the knowledge of the information, or at least your subject is not in the knowledge of the information, then you may attain a position where you can dictate their reality and thereby steer their actions outside of their own knowing, right? That's the system that's keeping it in place. It almost has to be, whether the people doing it know what the truth is or not.
Well, that's the thing, though. When you put it in context of a lie, you've already begged the question of that. But we don't know if they're lying or if they're just wrong. There's a difference between debunking a positive claim and making a positive claim. So be careful.
I'll put some pictures up, and then you guys can check out when the buildings cried, the YouTube channel. Really look at it and see that there's definite proof. Just like there's proof of flat Earth, you cannot deny that mountain right there used to be a temple, because half of it's still there. Not all of them got completely destroyed. So it's amazing.
Ask you a question.
That's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. I just wanted to say that be careful in the way that they make this kind of like back people into a corner, and they get scared, and that's why they get turned off the flat Earth.
May I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Can what you say happen on the flat Earth or only on the globe Earth?
The whole plane got flooded and destroyed. It used to be completely different.
Excuse me, answer my question. We're talking about why are they lying about a globe Earth versus a flat Earth. And you didn't like the fact that a lot of people attribute that to God. So my question to you is, what you say is happening, the lie, can that lie work on the globe Earth only, or does it also work on the flat Earth? Your buildings.
Oh, I don't believe in the globe. I know this. We live in a pan. The pan got flooded and destroyed.
Your buildings that you want to attest were half mountains, half buildings. Does that only happen on the flat Earth, or could that happen on the globe Earth as well?
And some of them are underwater. But yeah, it happened on the plane. It happened on the plane that we live in. We live in a plane.
Question.
We live in a plane. It happened here. It happened here in the plane that we live in. That's my answer.
Yeah, I know, but you're saying that the lie is to cover that. And I'm asking you, how can you say that when it can happen on either a globe Earth or a flat Earth? It has nothing to do with what Earth is. Your situation with mountains and buildings can happen on either or.
Well, they want to take us away from the whole Tartaria, the advanced technology, because that shows that the beginnings of the origins of mankind are not from a big bang, and we're not,
Okay, let's go on. Okay, let's go on. So I, as a Christian who read in Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth, I say God, and you say Tartarian because you're not a Christian. Why don't we just leave it right there? Because it's going to be based on the individual who he wants to give credit to his existence to. But to say they're lying...
I'm not saying anything that you're saying. That's like a straw man to me. Look, you can be a Christian if you want. All I'm saying is that Tartaria existed. There was an advanced civilization. It doesn't talk about it in the Bible. It does a little bit. It talks about the giants and the flood. It leaves a lot out, and that's fine because the people can't handle that. But the point being that
you're a spokesman for all people. I'm
There is
glad
other
you're
holy
spokesman
texts.
for all people.
There is.
When I talk, hang on, hold on. I just started talking to you, and you're not even answering my questions. When I talk to a person who's not a Christian, they know I am, and they know I'm going to credit God. And I don't force God on them. They say, wow, you've shown the lie. I say, now, I'm not like you, 10th man. I'm not a Christian, so but thank you for showing me the lie. Why are you saying it's a bad thing for each individual to give a reason as to what the lie is about when, as John said, it's about true and falsehood?
Well, because everybody's at different levels with their spirituality. So if a person is at a level where
thank you very much.
They're not ready. Oh, thank you. You're interrupting me. Where they're not ready to handle the Bible, perhaps. Maybe it's just not for them. Then you're going to turn them off the flat earth.
Maybe you're not ready to handle the Bible. Maybe you're not ready to handle the Bible. How you speak for others? When I've talked to people,
I read the whole New Testament in 1999. So I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, you get too hung up on the Bible, man. It's not about the Bible.
See what I'm saying? See, you're doing exactly what Brian said. You're saying others
bringing
are doing.
as many people as possible to the flat earth truth, and that's all I'm talking about. So make it universal.
A lot of people are actually Christians, so your argument doesn't hold ground.
Adam, you there?
Yeah,
hold on. Adam had a point to add at that juncture. Thank you, Arwin. You still there? No, he's not. What about Muslims? Equally, by the same token, just to side with the John from the Discord server, we could equally argue that there's plenty of Muslims out there that we could be appealing to on the same level. But when we do it and put it in that context, it suddenly makes his point more valid when you, as we've already done, go through the fact that there's a big non sequitur when you hold the two up next to each other. That would be flat earth and a route to God, regardless of how truthful or correct it may be. That's all I'm trying to reiterate. That was Adam's point, by the way. Just want to give him credit.
Hang on. Let me finish what I'm saying. Flat Earth is not a route to God. My goodness. The Muslims believe in Genesis, so they actually would agree with me because they accept the writings of Moses. That's not the point. It's not. I'm not using Flat Earth to bring people to God. That is not the route to God. The route to God is confession of sin and repentance and the work of the Holy Spirit. All we're doing is showing the lie.
I would disagree. Only saying that maybe not to everyone, because I've literally had people tell me, after describing the plane that we live on, I've had people tell me, well, that means that we've been created if we're special, and that's how it is. And I just left it at that. They came to that conclusion themselves. I didn't have to feed that into them. They just said that themselves, and I just looked at them and left them with that. So it depends on the person. For some people, flat earth is a route to God.
Well, no, the route to God, Chocolate, is the route to God is he who has the Son has life. He who has not the Son has not life. That's the route to heaven, to God. Flat Earth, it could be a reason to say there must be a God, or this leads me to believe it was created. That's the only thing it's there for. You don't go to heaven because you believe in flat Earth.
Hold on. Let me just say this again because I think it's getting missed. When we talk about a lie, right? Think about trepanning. Now, you could say, well, all those people that drilled holes into people's heads were lying about letting the demons out, but they weren't, okay? So when someone asks you why would they lie, they're the ones trying to put you in a false dichotomy. Because
very well summarized.
Everything that's happened after that, every point that's been made after that point has been assumed, has been fallacious.
Right, let me try and paraphrase it, because I've thought of a good way of paraphrasing what John's trying to lay down when we put it as truth versus lies. It's truth versus motivation as the false dichotomy setup that you're buying into. So it's like, is it true versus would they want to lie about this? Well, no, that's not a true dichotomy. It's just, is it true or isn't it? Not is it true and what's their motivation. Who cares what their motivation is? It's not relevant to whether or not the statement is true. Just, is it true or isn't it? After the fact, if you want to worry about their motivation, that has nothing to do with the statement's validity. That's it.
Yeah, I want to say something here. Yeah, when someone asks you, on the point of what John said just a moment ago, when someone asks you, why would they lie? That is immediately pre-assuming that they did lie. Now, I'm not saying they did or didn't lie, but the point is that I can't prove there was a lie. I can show there was definitely things that don't match up and are wrong and incorrect, but I can't prove that the origin of those things were a lie. You know what I mean? Directly. I can show that there is people who have lied, but as far as the origin of the globe model goes, I can't prove there and then that it was a lie. I can show that people might have found out, I can show that it looks like people maybe manipulated the situation for their own gain or blah, blah, blah. But to say that why did they lie means immediately there's pre-assumption happening. And that's why I wouldn't answer it with anything. I just say I don't know what why it is what it is. I just know that this is incorrect, and this is incorrect. But
Eli,
one second then. Something you said there a minute ago. You said the path to God, you said was through the Son. I can't remember how you phrased it. But
S-O-N.
that is, yeah. Sorry?
S-O-N, the Son, Jesus Christ. That's what the Bible teaches.
Yeah. But that is a path to God through Christianity.
Correct.
Through the Bible. Not correct. That's for you, not for me.
Well, that's fine. That's why God doesn't force. No, I agree. That's why I respect everyone's right.
I just wanted to point that out, that is personal to you as opposed to it being abroad.
Eli played the clip just a few minutes ago. And in the clip, the person was not lying. The person was just parroting the lies he was told. We just saw it in action. He ran out of answers. He saw that he was in a dilemma with logic, and he says, time to go. So John has a point, or John that is. Now, to answer Brian's question, is this. God is not going to force and doesn't ask Christians to force the Christian message on anybody. We're to be a witness and to live the Christian life, and God, the Holy Spirit, does the saving. So to the Christian, he's always going to give credit to God. The non-Christian says, well, that's your God, and that's the Bible you believe. I don't necessarily believe it. You say, that's fine. Hurry up, hit the next shot. We're going to be late. And then I play golf with these guys all the time.
You know what I do? All about the flat earth. I tell them the main stuff that I want to tell them. And then I tell them, and it also says it in the Bible. It says it in the Bhagavad Gita and other ancient texts. It says it in these ancient texts, too. That's what I do. So I do include it, but, you know, it says it with more. I also say it in other books as well, but I do mention the Bible because the Bible's got a lot of truth in it. So, but I don't base it on the Bible too much because if they're not into the Bible, like I said, it throws them off.
Well, if that's the case, why not just stick with the lack of geometry, since that's the only actual direct claim on the table?
Yes.
If you're so concerned with truth and how people will come away from an argument, why not stick to the most basic argument there is?
To his credit, he did open with that.
Because if you got a brain, you know that there's truth in the Bible's an intellectual book, you know, so you'll use that too as evidence. I don't know. I'm just saying it does hold some weight, so I say it.
You missed my point, or not even. You're just not answering to what I've asked you or put to you.
You don't go to heaven by saying and discovering the earth is flat.
Speak for yourself. I, for one, am very, very suspicious of Brian.
Who's given 10
Well, can I give an answer to something here? The best thing you can do, right, if somebody wants to know, well, are you claiming the earth was created by a god, or if somebody's asking, or are you claiming that it happened through what they call bloody evolution, blah, 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 right? The best answer to give, and I've given this answer, is the first law of thermodynamics. Just say to him, the first law of thermodynamics, neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed. This is a fact. So you tell me.
You've taken it one step further without contextualizing within the ontological primitives. So, yes, the first law of thermodynamics is an answer to the question in regards to the ontological primitives. Because if nature cannot be created or destroyed within nature, then that answers the question of whether or not it's a external creator or nature. Well, the laws of nature dictate that it can't be nature, so what you're left with in the true dichotomy? Well, you're left with a creator, because that's the only other option. So you've got to contextualise it first, Brian. I've just done it for you, but yes, you're absolutely correct, Brian. Who was it that was trying to get a word in that I stopped?
Eli.
I was going to say, it was funny. We was having a conversation where is it creation itself being a first law of thermodynamics violation?
Say that again. You said it too fast.
Creation itself being a first law of thermodynamics violation pointed out by John Shelton.
Yeah, that's correct. But rather than pointing out that creation itself is a first law of thermodynamics violation, that is still an appropriate description of things that occur always. It's not to say that the first law is invalid. It isn't. But it's to say that when you come to the beginning of time, how do you explain it if nature can't create itself? And that's the only option on the table versus a creator that's external to what we experience. So it doesn't violate the first law. That's a bad phraseology. Hate to be pedantic.
Everybody should just love each other.
You can't awaken someone who's pretending to be asleep.